it's been so long since the form was filled out, so I'm just going to completely ignore the form, and we'll basically use the kind of the framework of the questions to find out the real answers. So, what are we looking at today?
Like in terms of like who I play, my rank, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
on. Okay, well, I did say I mostly play Psylocke, but
Yeah.
since then I've picked up a bit of Hela,
Sure.
so I primarily just play those two. But
Sure.
like I said, if DPS is taken or I'm getting yelled at by teammates, I just go to support or tank.
Okay. 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 Sounds good. Tell me kind of like your Marvel Rivals experience and like why Hela, why Psylocke, why you've been enjoying the game, things you've been focused on, and then rank. Fill me in like your
Um,
Marvel Rivals story.
well, I mean, I started off as an Overwatch player.
Yep.
Um, when Rival, I mean, I played I think what was it, the close beta? You know how you had to like
Yep.
watch streams and get a key for the game. I
Yep.
managed to get one. That was my first time ever like experiencing the game. I loved the beta. I think I got like around 60 to 80 hours on the beta. I absolutely loved
Jeez.
it.
Jeez.
So when the full game came out, um, I loved it even more. I really enjoyed the new characters that they showcased, Psylocke especially,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean since the game came out, I've just been loving it.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And then in terms of your hero pool, what does that kind of looked like over time?
So I mean, it's mostly stayed consistent, Psylocke only, until recently I started picking up Hela since only playing one character is a bit of a detriment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly just been Psylocke. For support, if I ever am on that role, it's usually Luna and Rocket. And
Sure.
tank, which is very rarely when I play tank, it's usually Strange or Venom.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. And then why Hela recently? Because I assume Psylocke was just I really like playing Psylocke, so that's simple as right. But why Hela?
Well, I mean, I like Cass from Overwatch. I just like point and click characters. There's nothing much to it.
Okay, makes sense. And Hela was just more of a this is also a character I enjoy, or is this more of this covers some of my weaknesses with Psylocke?
I think it's just both. I mean, I really like her, and yeah, it just covers some things that Psylocke can't really do.
Okay, what's your percentage breakdown of each one?
A percentage breakdown.
Yeah, like how much? Sorry, how much you play of each one?
Oh, it's like 50-50,
So
I would
50-50.
say.
Okay, makes sense. Let me make sure it's selecting rivals here. Okay, making sure the game capture is working here. Okay, and then rank wise, where are you at?
Celestial 3.
Celestial 3. Okay. And then in terms of your playtime, warm up, sleep, training schedule, do you have any questions about that? We talked about that at detail with our initial session with Ramatra. I think it was Ramatra back in the day.
Yeah.
Have any questions come up since then? Because it's pretty much largely the same.
I mean, no, not really. Most things have just stayed the same.
Okay, sounds good. I'm getting all the rivals. I'm reminded I logged back in, and because I haven't played since season 0, like the end of it, I'm gonna like congratulations, gold 1 because the reset.
Yeah.
And we're about to coast celestial, so we'll surely nothing will go wrong. Okay, let me get.
Also, I'm not sure if this means anything, but I do play on console.
That's not a problem. No, it's not a problem. I mean, it does mean that a lot of the tech stuff with Psylocke is going to be a little bit harder. Like, I don't know how smooth you are with your 180s on your combos, but honestly, from my understanding of Psylocke anyway, I think people overstate the value of like the dash 180s. Those are a lot more situational anyway, so it's probably not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my mechanics, for the most part, are decent. They're not too bad.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions about the macro of the game or any of the character stuff basics? Full transparency here. I have not coached Hela before, so we're gonna I guess figure stuff out along the way. But any questions before we just look at gameplay?
Uh, I mean, not really, but I do have a question outside of that. So like, I've
Please.
got two codes. One like where I play only Hela, and another where I think I played a little bit of like other characters, but it again for the most part I did play Sai. So like, are we gonna only look at one, or is it possible to look at like both?
Yeah, we
Like
could look at
both
both.
games?
We'll have plenty. I mean, considering you've already talked about a lot of the other fundamentals of training, like we're saving time by just jumping in. We'll have time to
Okay,
look at both.
well, then that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. We can start with whatever one you want.
Yeah, I guess we could start with Psylocke. I'll get the replay ID for you.
Sounds good.
Should be
Okay.
that.
And this said, this is the Psylocke one or the Hela one?
This is size.
Psylocke. Okay. Can you see stream on your end?
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. We'll
But yeah, I
skip
don't play Psy right off the bat, so you might want to skip a bit until I do play her.
Okay. And are you Justice here?
Yeah, that's me.
Venom. Okay, there's the Psylocke swap. Okay, so what have you been working on with Psylocke recently? We'll start with that. Anything in particular?
I guess just like knowing to like off angle and like pressure like specific targets. So a lot of the time I usually feel like I'm just stuck on main, and yeah, I guess just like I've been trying to work on taking off angles away from the team and you know, causing pressure from another angle.
Sure, makes sense.
And also just playing my life, because a lot of the time I think I do this in this game where I just kind of commit a lot of resources into doing damage, farming my ult, but like I don't really play my life too well, and so that's just something I've been trying to work on.
Okay, sounds good. We'll take a look here. Dum-dum-dum.
Since my character's pretty survivable, and it's kind of just stupid how many times I do die in just ridiculous ways.
What I would look at is whenever I see this mistake in any situation with any character in any game, you really have to challenge yourself to be more specific than that. And I know it's hard to be objective about yourself, because that's kind of like why you're here. It's hard to have like a fully objective view of yourself, but you have to try. So when you ask yourself, oh, I just die unnecessarily, why? In what situations do you die unnecessarily? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Is it greeting for 50-50 kills? Is it mismanagement of your CDs? Is it lack of cover? Is it pushing beyond your team's resources? And maybe you don't know the answer to that right now, but like that theoretically needs to be your goal. Is this the recall team up, or am I crazy?
Yeah, it's the one with magic.
They buffed it recently, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Recent patch. How's it feeling now?
I mean, it was always like pretty good, but after the buffs, it's much better.
Okay. That might be something to kind of tweak with. I don't know if that would change how I'd play fundamentally, but maybe it rewards higher risk plays more often.
I mean, it's not really a get out of jail free card, as a lot of people have said. It's more so like, how do I say this? You mostly want to use it to like extend your uptime. So like if you're in a duel, you're losing a lot of health, you can just pop that, gain some shield, go back in the fight, and retake.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much Psylocke in a nutshell. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Win the angle. Now, this is the important thing here. So you've won the angle because you won the duel.
Yeah.
You need to use that that advantage to snowball, right? Because at this level of the game, like if I'm coaching, I've coached some lower level flanker stuff, right? And usually it's like, hey, take an angle. And then it's just like all quiet on the Western Front. There's nobody on the angle at all. And you just basically go for free assassinations. But like at this point in time, I mean, this is a perfect example, right? There's somebody there. There's going to be somebody there 75% of the time. So you have to beat them. But then what do you do when you beat them? Right? For you... I
mean,
you go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, you could I could probably just like deepen the angle
That's
depending
it.
on like where it is.
That's
But
it.
if I
That's
can't
it.
really deepen it any further, I guess just sit there and shoot
That's
whatever I
pretty much
see.
it. That's the textbook answer. Now the key thing here is that there's not really a fight breaking out here, so there's no real motivation for you to walk forward any further. But it's important that as your strange drops and starts to contest cart, that then you are taking this position to win the duel, right?
Also, I don't really know what it is, but since obviously I play both Rivals and Overwatch, well, not like 50-50, like equally, but I do play the both games a lot. I don't know why in Overwatch, I feel like I make the right decisions way more than I do in Rivals. Like, I feel like in Rivals, I just kind of sit in main and just shoot tanks too much, but in Overwatch, like, I don't know, my brain just knows it's not bad, but I could be taking an off angle and, providing pressure elsewhere.
Yeah. So there's a two really big differences. One, Overwatch is just a more skillful game right now because the player base has matured over so many years that getting a high rank in Overwatch is a lot harder than Rivals. Where if you bring any hero shooter, general first-person shooter experience, you're gonna be better than like 25% of the population right there. Bam. The other thing, and this is more relevant to the macro of the game, is that angles are important, but generally there's a lot less creativity and flexibility needed for Rivals value, right? Like if you look at this positioning here, this is like pretty solid, pretty important, whatever. But also, this is pretty much all you can do. Like I don't know if it makes a lot of sense if they have a functional support combo for you to deepen your angle to like, I don't know, here. This is really never an option with Psylocke unless the supports are bad or the map just like allows for free one-shots, right? Because sustain is just too strong. It's too strong. So you still angle, but the way that those angles look is that in Overwatch, there are just more angled choices. With Rivals, there's fewer. Part of that's map design, part of that's sustain. So that's just the nature of the game, to be honest with you. So I don't hate this. When I criticize you here, it's going to be more about, I wonder if you would have functioned better from this position here. You see what I'm saying? From an angle like this here, in terms of poking front line. But I also am not going to say you should have hard flanked backline and tried to one-shot the Luna.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bronze anymore.
It's not bronze anymore, right? It's the risk versus reward is just completely skewed with how strong sustain is. But at the same time, I do agree with your little bit of self-criticism that you could be doing better. You don't have to because Marvel Rivals players haven't leveled up their understanding of macro high enough to where you can get you're going to get punished for not doing this, but at the same time, you should. If you want to get better, you should. You should. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the situations where, like, your Strange is getting bullied, and you're not even tickling the Iron Fist. You're not tickling frontline. You're staring at a Groot wall. I mean, come on. Like, right? Like, that has to be better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, it does.
You've also, I was going to say, you've given Torch the angle, and it's like now instead of holding the angle, you're having to push into the angle, and the damage is kind of already done, right?
So are you saying I should have just stayed in this building and just, like, poke Torch or Iron Fist or whoever came my way?
Right, Torch, Iron Fist, and if they back out, then poke Groot.
Okay.
That's
so
the
the
luxury
mistake
of Psylocke.
necessarily was just like leaving the angle open to like either of them. Okay.
Yes, it was leaving it open to either of them, and then also not leveraging it yourself. You could talk about it in either a positive or a negative way. You should have done more tank pressure by holding an angle that allowed you to shoot Groot in the face while still being pocketed by your team, right? But you also should have denied the angle from the enemy team that did the exact same thing, because that's why your Strange died. Your Strange died because of the Iron Fist angle. Your Strange is getting pressured by Torch taking that exact same angle. That's the problem.
I got you.
Right. And the thing that makes Psylocke really strong is, like, if you think about, like, the cycle of Psylocke, is that you could go for an assassination cycle on anybody contesting the angle when you have dash, when you have stealth, when you have your alternate fire shurikens, right? But then when you don't, yeah, maybe you can't duel the Iron Fist, but you could still hold here and poke tank. And then when you have your cooldowns, you can test. And then when you don't, you go back and poke. But you really don't want to sit behind your tank, even when you don't have CDs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice use of the recall there.
Yeah, but I just kind of dash back into him.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. At this point in time, you're so far behind that it doesn't really matter that much. Like, you enter that fight at such a disadvantage. Like, equally skilled Iron Fist, equally skilled Psylocke. If you've blown half your cooldowns, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, get him out. Oh wow, that was scary.
I think I got headshot by the Hela though.
Yeah. Good angle here. This is good. And this is where, like, okay, so actually here, just you being here, you don't need to do anything else. I know what you're doing, like you're going for ult here, but like let's just pretend you don't have ult just for the sake of learning, right? This is where you could actually just ego the angle and obliterate tank.
But what about the Hela on the left? Wouldn't that be better? Should you shoot her?
Yeah. But you notice it's from the same angle, right? You use your CDs, you obliterate them, you force them back, and then you punish tank. And then they try to rotate to contest you, and you use your cooldowns, and you go back and you poke tank. You could deep into here. I would never actually hard flank here. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So something, I guess one way to look at this is I play a lot of Venture in Overwatch, and I think part of the reason why I really liked Psylocke is because of like the playstyles. I feel like are kind of similar. I know a lot of people say Psylocke is basically like Genji, but I think she's also kind of like Venture in a way too, because
She is.
thing with Venture, I remember I'd watched like a lot of your like Venture like VOD reviews and stuff and such. I remember something that you'd always teach is you don't always have to force the one-shot combo. Just set up on an angle and just shoot. Doesn't matter if it's tank, support, DPS, just shoot. Get on an angle and shoot. And if somebody like threatens your angle, then you can like fire back with your one-shot combo. And I think that's something very similar you can do with like Psylocke too. So I understand what you're saying. Like I can just hold the angle here, shoot group, shoot Hela, and if they want to push me, then I can use my cooldowns and potentially kill them.
Yeah. I go so far to say here that like, your cycle of cooldowns is so potent from this angle that I would even question whether you should open with your ultimate here. I might dump my shurikens, maybe even a dash here just to scare the pants off of them. Use my final dash up and then ult.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but instead I just ult straight away.
You just ult straight away. So use the angle first, cooldown dump, and then blow your ultimate. Buy yourself 3 or 4 seconds. You'll get your dash back. You'll have your stealth to get out, and then just go from there. I like the dash up into the ultimate, obviously, and it's a fine ultimate. It's gonna create a lot of space. I don't know why your support ulted, but yeah, it was fine. Yeah, nice job. But I will say the angle is good. Like that rotation was really good, and I think that's what makes Psylocke so strong compared to the other flankers. Is because you have like flexibility with a range that you can function at. You can take angles like this and poke tank, but you can also take like these really congested angles. Like I don't know that I would take Psylocke over a Black Panther in a space like this, but in theory you can beat him. You can. It's not optimal, but you can, right? And that's kind of like the Venture. Like Venture could beat anybody in a duel up close. I don't know if you always have the advantage if you're playing Psylocke in a room like that, but there's a world where you can, right? Like you're
and I think both Psy and Black Panther, they're not. I wouldn't say one counters the other. I mean, I feel like if you hit, as long as I feel like you're poking, the Panther or Psy,
right?
Keeping your distance. For the most part, you have the advantage in that duel. You know,
Yeah. I mean, you kind of brought it to light there. Like, you need to get a little bit of early poke, a little bit of early pressure, and if you can't...
Yeah, because if you are in, like, a really closed space, he'll just shred you. Like, I have to give him that space and just dash away, otherwise he's just gonna kill me.
Pretty much. Okay. Any questions so far?
Not really. I mean, I do have one question, though. It's more so just about supports. I never really had to do this a whole lot on Overwatch, but it's starting to, bite me back in Rivals. A lot of the time, my Psy ults just are always getting countered by support, and I know that's just the nature of the game, I guess, at high rank. Because when I was climbing through, of course, I started at bronze, we all did. I would say probably up until maybe like high plat, low diamond, that's when I started experiencing a lot of just ultimates that just did nothing. And maybe nothing's a bit harsh to say. I mean, maybe I could say, oh, okay, I forced attention, I split tanks, or whatever the reason might be. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh by saying nothing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of these ults are technically being countered by support ultimates. So like pretty much every game, there's just always a support just ulting right after, and I know that's probably good value, but I guess what my question is there like something I should be doing to get more value, such as getting kills with my ultimate, or should I just be thinking in a completely different way when it comes to my ultimate?
The answer is
Because I want
both,
to get the
right?
most value with it, right?
Yeah, the answer is both. Like, you definitely highlight that this game is different and that your expectation to force a support ult is really, really about all you can ask. So, like, yeah, pre-nerf Khonshu, like, in theory, you could just murk people, right? And, like, there's even situations with Winter Soldier where, like, you could just catch people with their pants down and they pop a support ult too late, right? Psylocke is just really consistent at forcing the support ult because you're basically invulnerable during the cast, so minus that first initial cast point. So it's really good at forcing support ult, and if you force a support ult and you're able to live, then you shouldn't feel ashamed, right? Like, sadly, support ults are better than DPS ults because of the duration, but like it's still a good trade. If you want to be like, could I really squeeze like any extra value out? What you do is I'm trying to think of the good Overwatch equivalent. The Death Blossom effect, where it's like you go for a normal play and then you just pull out the Death Blossom to win a duel. And what that usually does you're just playing normally and you're using the ult to accentuate what you're doing and guaranteeing the kill. And it does two things. You can probably see where I'm going with this. You generally
I
get the
think I do.
kill and you force a support ult.
Okay, because I will say this. That's a very interesting point that you make. Something that I don't know if I do it in this game, but in other games and future games from this, I've been using the ult as just
Yeah.
like a finishing tool, or like if
Yeah.
I'm losing a 1v1, I just
Yeah.
pop it.
That's
Since
not a
I
bad
mean,
idea.
I've kind of just understood that this rank, this high elo, my ult just kind of will either do one or two things. It will either, get a kill or force a support ultimate. And either of those I've kind of just accepted as, good.
Yeah,
So
it
a lot
is
of the
good.
time, yeah, so a lot of the time if I'm like, let's say a tank is pushing me, let's say it's like a Thor and he's out of position, sometimes I'll just pop my ult and kill him.
Yeah.
Since I
The way
mostly
to
just
look
end
at
up
it
using it as a finisher tool.
the way to look at it is if every person on your team thought like that, you would win. You would make life for the enemy support so incredibly difficult. Like if I looked at your Magic and she just was willing to pop Dark Child just to secure a kill, and then you were willing to do the same thing, and your Magneto was willing to do the same thing, and then your Hela was willing to do the same thing, like you'd have a really bad time for the enemy supports because they would never like how it goes. You mess up a support, you're kind of just lost the next fight. So all of a sudden, like they can't support ult 4 different or 3 different DPS ultimates at the same time, and you just make it really difficult. And I think like if you think back to your ultimate here earlier, right? Obviously the main thing that we talked about was being a little bit willing to go for a cooldown dump, maybe a cycle of normal play, and then accentuate that with the ultimate. That's good. But in general, like it felt like your mentality was just, I'm going to kind of put myself in the middle of the enemy team post dash and then just kind of put out general AoE pressure, which is going to be very useful, right? That's nice. But I think my point here is think outside the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take your angle, do a cooldown dump. If what happens if Hela pushes you and she doesn't have her what if she crow pushes you, right? All of a sudden she's naked. Use the ult. What if they all back off and you just poke out tank and then you deepen your angle and then you catch the Lunasto trying to get a little bit cheeky with it and just hit her in the head and then ult immediately, right? Can you get it off fast enough to where she can't do it? Like there's a world where that stuff works. And I think it's not going to be guaranteed, but that will consistently, that's not a gimmick, right? That's just good strategy. And that's going to carry with you as high as you go.
Yeah, that's something that I've been trying to implement a lot more. In one of my recent Celestial games, one of my teammates, and I don't think the enemy team banned Storm because they had a Storm player. I was telling my team, guys, let's ban Storm. None of them listen, and I think, God, we banned Spider-Man instead of Hela, and I
Really?
was so annoyed. So I had to play super, super scummy to win the game. It's like I would spawn camp the Storm, do everything in my power, and I even there was this moment where I was hiding near her spawn, and I just solo ulted her.
Yeah.
And then she started getting really mad at me in chat, and I just said, "Bro, that's how I'm meant to play my character. What can I do?"
Yeah. I mean, it's smart, right? Like you get the solo ult, you get a guaranteed fight advantage. Now, the one problem is that I guess 5v6s aren't as good as 4v5s in Overwatch, I guess, on paper. But still, a kill is a kill, And then you still have the angle and you can contribute. So,
Yeah.
okay. Let's take a look here. So I think this initial starting position is fine. Basically, you're just keeping them honest. But like, if anybody does get sloppy or split, I can ruin you. Even in Celestial, there's situations where you can get a pick off here. Weird stealth from you, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I kind of just was overpowering a little bit here.
Yeah. So you could just use this angle and poke. Like, you could do anything you want. Like, this Iron Fist is kind of trying to do the same thing, but the difference is that your angle allows you range, and his angle doesn't. So he can't really stage safe. I mean, I would be bowling shurikens here. Yeah, I was gonna say, ruin that man. I still cannot believe this game does not have passive heal. I'm not trying to be toxic here, but I like it blows my mind.
Honestly, when they added that to Overwatch, it's just such a game changer.
It really is.
Especially on Venture, man.
Yeah. So this is where, like, I appreciate you going for the torch in terms of, like, you know, there's not a lot of solutions for him, but also, like, you have the free angle here. Your pressure is going to be infinitely better here. Play your range. Play your range. Your poke is fine, but your poke is fine versus fat targets, right? This is just hard. Like, if you're talking about, like, your DPS here, in terms of your raw output, this is, like, 25, 30 DPS. This sucks. Yeah. This sucks. Just take the angle. Like, you won the angle, you put pressure, your team is pushing forward, just go forward. And remember, because you're playing Psylocke, it's not like, oh, I can't, you know, I'm Spider-Man, I can't really. No, you could annihilate. Is this Adam here? Yeah, you could annihilate this Adam, or you could annihilate this Penny, or both. Take it. You have it. You've earned it. Use it. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you win an angle, then you migrate backwards, and then just kind of poke the torch because you feel like that's your responsibility. It's not. Your responsibility is to put out pressure. Do your job.
Yeah, and this is basically like the least amount of pressure I can really do.
Right, and from my understanding of Torch, now I haven't seen a lot of games with Torch, but like I don't even think this is necessarily a positive 1v1 for you. It might be like neutral at best, like equally skilled Torch versus equally skilled Psylocke. Like, it's not exactly a bad trade for him. Like, you are so locked in.
Yeah.
You know,
I just want to kill this guy.
I mean,
I got super lucky though.
Yeah, but it's not just luck. It's also like, you look at that and you're like, all right, well, I got the kill, so it worked, right? No, I don't think so. I think you would have done infinitely more anywhere else. You know, that guy.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because think about it this way. Remember, we go back to the very first fight where we talked about take the angle, fight the Iron Fist, fight the Torch. Why? Because they were there. Why was that a problem? Because that angle was really lethal to your tank. With where this, you initially poked out Torch. Okay, fine. He's here. This guy is complete MIA. It's not that he's worthless, but he's pretty close to it. He's not a problem. So when you take angle and poke what's convenient, it's not just a question of like maximizing your output of pressure, but it's also about like actually defending your team from real threats, like Iron Fist right now, or Penny, or anything else. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, if they back off to behind their supports, you don't need to keep chasing, because not only is that an overextension by you, but they're also just not a threat to your team anymore.
So what you're saying is anyone who's like on an angle that's basically threatening to my tank, my support, whoever it may be, I basically should just clear those guys out, and once they're out, I just kind of sit on the angle and just do my thing.
I'll flip the order there. You take your angle first to do damage, and then you just shoot what's convenient from that angle. If that coincidentally means that you clear out Iron Fist, like you did earlier in this fight, then great. If not, then you just kill their backline.
Okay. So it doesn't actually matter who it is, as long as if somebody is on the angle that I'm on, I need to clear them out.
That's it. That's it, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Like, you notice that you didn't go out of your way to try to peel the Iron Fist earlier. It just coincided with, oh, I'm in a good position. His position coincides with being in my silence, so I'm going to punish him.
Yep.
That's exactly
I'm going to shoot you in the face.
That's exactly it. And what that does is that allows you to prioritize where you want to play it. It doesn't force you to go chase protecting your backline in bad positions, right?
Yeah, I got you.
This is fine. I mean, this is one of those moments where it's like, it's fine. If you're here, you might as well. I don't know how consistent you'll be able to stay in angles like this, but if it's working, you know. And by that, I just mean as in, it is a very deep angle. In theory, it's like, depending on the how good the enemy supports, how many enemy tank is, like, that might not work. Like, right now, it's working because they're on basically solo Penny. Their Strange might as well not even exist. In fact, like, where was their Strange? Was he even, like, alive? Like, oh, no, he was Hela. Okay, I was like, I felt like those type of angles are going to work less when they're on Strange, but then you don't have to, you could just shoot the Strange. Like, you don't have to flank. Sure.
By the way, shooting the torch there earlier was fine, right? Because, I mean, everyone else was backing off.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of those angles where I'd imagine you probably get cleared out by a tank. So you can just... It's weird. You look at that and you're like, okay, it's 6v5. So if she support ults, it's going to be a bad trade. I'm a little concerned with your disengage strategy here, because if you notice that like you don't even have a dash here, so that's the reason why I'm not as big of a fan of this.
You have the recall though.
Oh, you're right. I'm not used to playing around that.
Yeah, I will say here, I went for this play because I was looking. I'm like, okay, I do have one dash, but I do have recall to get out if I am like being looked at after this.
I mean, okay, sure, works for me. Another situation.
Yeah, that was my strategy.
You could have just cooldown dumped from this angle as well, and just burn Penny or burn backline, but this is fine too. Sure.
Yeah.
You made a choice. There's logic behind the choice. It's fine with me. Yep. Good execution. And I think that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, where it's just in general being a bit more flexible about when you press that Q, you know? Yep. It's not a clean fight win, but it puts that Luna in a really bad spot where they either delay the fight by 20 seconds, or she uses a support ult to 5v6. So, this is where I don't hate this angle from you. I think it's okay. But these are the higher risk angles, higher reward angles that may not always consistently work out as much as you would like. Just because this is something where, like, in theory, if they devote any resources to you whatsoever, you're not going to get support and you're going to have to leave. If this was Overwatch, I would say this is always fine. In Rivals, I don't know. It might work, but it might also be you get cleared and you're just kind of devoting to just poking tank from this off angle here, deepening, going for a little pressure, and then going back and poking tank again. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and plus I don't know, I mean, I think if my supports work up a little bit more, they will have LOS on me. But
it's just not bad. It's just, I don't, when I see Overwatch, I see high risk, high reward angles. When I watch Rivals at higher level with better supports and tanks, I see high risk, medium reward angles. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because the odds of you securing pressure here, it's just a lot lower. Now, it might work. The fundamentals here are fine. But you could kind of feel like, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Yes, shoot him because he's close.
So, hang on. What would be like, if we go back to that fight, where would be like a better position for me to take?
Exactly where I showed you. Exactly where I showed you. So you would go, okay, I don't, especially because I don't have my ultimate, I don't have the sufficiency and sustain to keep applying pressure on backline, nor can I get the one shot. So I'm going to hold the angle here and poke, and or swing my angle to this, and go for cooldown cycles here instead.
So is the fact that I'm like over there, right? Like it's, like you said, it's not a bad position, but what doesn't make it as good as it should be is because I'm basically right next to the Strange and
Flank
the Torch.
versus angles. Flank versus angles. Do you understand the difference between the two?
Yeah.
It's the time on the clock. It's all it is. It's how 180 behind versus slight angle poking tank. That's the difference. And when you're Psylocke, you have the flexibility to take a softer angle and poke. And when you go for deeper assassination setups, like this screams assassination for me, which first off, you don't even really try for. You go more for the poke, right? But it's just easier to deal with at this level of play.
Okay.
Whereas if you take this position here, you could just basically turn your brain off and just dump on Strange's shield or dump on Torch or whatever from here and get healing and be around your support ults and be able to disengage without... Because the problem here is that, like, if you think about, like, what did you get out of this? A little bit of poke, a little bit of healing distraction. Iron Fist chases you, but then you're out of the fight for a long time. And Iron Fist, yeah, he pushes you out. He wins the duel, and then he's right back in it, and he's actually still on the angle on the left side. Whereas, where are you? You see what I'm saying?
That Ryan main.
Right. The problem is that if you take a flank and it doesn't work, there's a real risk that your downtime is going to be astronomical, or you're going to lose your angle entirely, and you're going to be sitting inside of your team.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be very clear. This should work. This should work. If Rivals was designed or balanced appropriately, in my opinion, what you did there should work on paper, and it will work up until a certain point of rank.
I think that's just my Overwatch experience.
I agree. I did the same thing with Winter Soldier sometimes, and versus sniper comps, and I got really frustrated because I would hit a big hook and I'd get support ulted, and I was stuck.
Yeah.
And with Winter Soldier, you die. You die if you get caught there.
I mean, yeah. What do you have? I mean, uppercut's the only thing you have, but even
it's a 12-second cooldown.
Yeah.
So
you don't even really go that far with it.
Yeah. The only characters that could do that consistently are characters like Spider-Man or Iron Fist that have that basically level of self-sustain and uptime that allows them to stay there for long periods of time. And you don't quite have that. Good angle here. This is really good. You will win that duel. He's out, and then you keep going. So this is where you could the world's your oyster here. You could literally do anything that you want here. You can press your backline, you can shoot tank. This is more of the angle approach. You see the difference here?
Yeah.
And you could just do whatever
Yeah,
you want.
it's honestly night and day when you put it like that.
Yeah, and really, I think this is your mistake. I think this is with you trying to deal with a problem. You shouldn't. You should just keep poking.
Yeah, just sit on the angle,
hold
keep
the angle.
shooting. Yeah.
And trust me, opportunities will present itself. You'll go, oh, crud, Invisible Woman. Or you'll go, oh, Groot's full HP, not for long, right?
Yeah,
you're going to dump so
saying.
much pressure in there. And I don't like you being here. Because if you think about it, what did you actually really do there? About 150 damage, and now you're out of position and vulnerable to any ultimate they throw your way. You would have done so much more to that Groot or Invisible Woman. So much more. And you would have been completely saved. And you would have prevented any other duelist from them to take that exact same angle that you just forfeited. You get it?
And I would also have at least one dash as well.
At least one dash.
Right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is fine. I would prefer top just based off of the vision of your supports, but it's still fine. Sure. Not when you didn't really have a good angle for a good cooldown dump, so I think it's okay. So just use a little bit of pressure and then go from there. You're getting your mileage out with a recall. I love it. Nice job.
Something I've been practicing.
Is it just the magic pick rates up since the recent patch, or are people actually figuring out the one-shot
no,
stuff?
that's my duo.
Ah, that's even better.
Yeah. It works out really well because I introduced him to Rivals, and there was just no way that he told me one day, yo, I really enjoy Magic. I'm like, bro, that's sick.
That's perfect.
That's perfect. Psylocke, and we'll have the team up.
That's perfect. Just ban Iron Man and you guys are cooking.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you have Hela in your back pocket, so...
Sometimes we mostly just kind of go to Namor, though, because Namor is just a nightmare to deal with his magic.
Oh, that's true, actually, yeah.
Iron Man's not too bad because, I mean, I can kind of shred him.
That's true.
And poke him away.
So this is kind of your decision here, right? Do you want your angle here? This feels maybe a little too exposed. Do you want to swing to the vacant angle here? This one feels a little bit better. And then what happens is if you get pressure here, you need to live or win. And if you don't get pressure here, you can literally just turn your brain off and hold your primary fire down.
By the way, we will have time to look at my Hela later, right?
We'll go back.
Okay.
We'll finish this fight here and we'll jump over to Hela.
Okay.
See, this is where you're playing like a plat. So first off, what you're doing is already questionable enough as it is, which is hard forcing a duel when you have a good poke angle instead, which is not terrible. But if you were to go for this Moon Knight, then you need to freaking take the angle where you can actually approach him safely. With some level of
just
subtlety.
walk out in the open.
Right. So if you're gonna flank, if you're gonna go for a one-shot, then you need to flank. Kind of like I was criticizing you for doing it earlier, but at least there's some logic here. This is just nonsense, right? This is nonsense.
And to be honest, I think I could just you know where my Hela is, behind me? I think I could just stay around that angle and still do the little one-shot combo thing.
Yeah, primary fire, all fire.
As well, just from here. I wouldn't even have to dash out in the open.
I agree. So if you're gonna commit for a one-shot, freaking commit for the one-shot on the flank. Don't sit there and do it here in the open. Either that or just poke from here. This is OP. I will say one thing I want you to do is I don't mind shooting the Stranger, but you really got to shoot the tank, the fat tank. Like I'm telling you, you're gonna do like this, right? Shoot Penny, shoot Groot. Like I hate to say target priority matters, but it does sometimes. Like this is like absolute free low. Like
Wait,
you
so
just
shoot either the Groot there or the Iron Fist? Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. It just because it's just
Is that just because they're easier to shoot?
That's it.
or-
Yes. That's literally it. That's literally it. So I mean, look. Like, come on. This guy hates his life, right?
Got it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Sure. That's another one of those
Massive trade, 2 supports.
Yeah, well, not just that. That's another one of those 5v6 ones, right? Where they have to even just once a portal, they really don't want to pop that then, right? Because then it's like, oh crud, like so this is big, and then just recall. Oh, we don't even need a recall. Banger. And you get the kill on Luna. Yeah, this is fine. I mean, he gets up.
He just gave up on life.
Yeah. Okay, let's stop there. So main things for Psylocke, what were you seeing? What needs to be done better?
So I guess just not forcing duels. I guess just kind of if I have an angle.
Let me rephrase it. Not forcing flanks. Not forcing flanks.
Yeah, not forcing the flank if I already have an angle where I can just poke from, and if I am going to flank, at least like be subtle about it and not like go out in the open.
Yep. What about the whole peel, chasing targets, trying to protect your backline, target priority? Whether it was with Torch or Iron Fist or whatever else.
I guess, yeah, I mean, just if I'm on an angle and there's just a more convenient target near me, it's better to just shoot them rather than shooting somebody who's like much further away.
Right, exactly. Okay, beyond that, I think it was okay. I think you managed your cooldowns relatively well. I think the only other detail I would add in there is with your ultimates, be more flexible with opportunities that you find yourself, whether it's pushing 5v6s, whether it's solo ulting, whether it's being more patient in terms of I have a really good angle, so I'm just going to keep pressuring and wait for the opportunity to present itself, or even cooldown dumping into your angle, especially if you have the recall. But just I think you could look at any one of those 3 approaches and practice it more, but that might just be something you could put more time into.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions before we jump into Hela here?
No, not really.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let me get the code for you.
Sounds good.
All right, that should be it.
Got it. Okay. So Hela's going to be similar. It's really hard to kind of think of an Overwatch equivalent with Hela. She's kind of like the sniper that has like a really, really good defensive cooldown. So
She kind of just reminds me of Ashe and Cass, like combined.
Are you the asterisk dude here?
Yeah, I've got the asterisks.
Okay. Well, we actually ended up in your POV. Okay. So, again, transparency here. I've not coached Hela before. I understand the basic fundamentals of how she's supposed to position, but in terms of like micro, when you'd use your torpedoes essentially, or your alt fire or your stun grenade, I'm not the guy to ask. So, I mean, the main difference between her and Psylocke is we talked about like Psylocke being like the flexibility to go for deeper angles and deeper flanks. With Hela, it's less so. Nice shots, just because your mobility is so much more limited. But at the same time, you don't have to. Like, you can take really any, I mean, you're like what? Like the best or second best sniper in the game, right? So you could take any long sightline that you want and just kind of disrespect any sort of pressure. So like this is like a really good example of it right now, where it's like, you know, if I'm playing other characters, I really don't feel comfortable holding this angle like this, because even like Winter Soldier, like I may not be able to get enough pressure from holding this angle, but with Hela you are, right? Like your fall off is pretty meaningless. So that's basically going to be your goal, is to like find that next rotation. So for you here, this isn't bad, but one thing you might want to do from a surface level understanding of how her cooldowns work is cooldown dump here, like open stun grenade, open. Is alt fire better for burst? Is that even a cooldown that you ever use?
I mean, yeah, I usually try and use it, like right when I'm taking an angle, like so here.
Yeah.
But I just like use it whenever. Like sometimes I just dump it on tank as
Okay.
well.
So like let's not worry about target priority here, but I would say this is a situation where I would consider just cooldown dumping. Like literally just open with alt fire, throw your stun grenade on the nearest squishy, aim for the head, you get pressured, fly out, take a more passive angle, but an angle that gives you more sniping. So like basically the cycle is that you abuse your range without CDs. You have CDs, you go for a tighter rotation, a deeper angle. I mean, this feels a little like Psylocke rhythm, right? Like you go for your alt fire, you go for your dash, you stealth out or vice versa, and then you just poke tank from an angle. And Hela, basically, you could do the same thing. You have a weaker burst combo, but you have a stronger medium long range poke phase. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So go for like a big jump scare here, get pushed, disengage out, and then poke from an angle. So I look at this here and it's like, you might as well stun grenade. I mean, you really might as well. There's literally no downside. Because you're gonna need to back away from this Magneto anyway, and then there's the stun grenade, or not the stun grenade, excuse me. Is that the stun grenade? What is that?
No, it's the explosive thorns that she has.
Okay. I was gonna say, I thought your stun grenade was your R1, but...
It is, I just pressed L2, which is the other ability.
Okay. The only time I would purposefully sit on your stun grenade if you don't have an angle is if the angle that you're taking is so good and they have something like this Black Panther that might dive you. Case in point, right? Okay. Character's just insane. Okay. This is where, once you've done your due diligence and the team starts to walk forward, I want you to do exactly what I talked about here. I want a stun dump, alt fire dump on this Thor, make him chase you, disengage back out, and poke. If he gets the bad part of that HP trade, then you could go even further forward. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to pursue proximity, but like I don't see why you should have to play so far back here when you have everything at your disposal. It's a lot like Sojourn is what it is. It's where it's like I have this mobility cooldown, so like I don't want to get in your face, but I have Disruptor Shot. I have the slide.
Yeah, honestly, that's a really good way of putting it. She actually is just like Sojourn.
Yeah, so especially with your ult, right? It's just a complete get out of jail free card. So like this is fine.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you can, where should your rotation go? Because of the status of your CDs and your ult.
Probably where my Panther is.
I agree.
Like at the top left-ish area.
I agree. Take top here. Again, stun dump, alt fire dump. You probably just force a support ult with that. And even if you don't, you did get out of jail free card with either your Crow or your ult or both.
Or even better, I can probably just get a kill from that angle too.
True.
Yeah.
Because like the problem is that how many times have you used your stun effectively? How many times have you used your Crow effectively, right? You haven't needed to, right? But if you have the kit, you might as well do it. Now I could smell you're going for an ultimate here, I feel like. Or maybe you're not, but like you're pressing W, but I don't like this is the same problem I had with your Psylocke in the previous code when you went for a combo in the Moon Knight, remember that? It wasn't the idea of what you're doing, is where you were doing it from.
Yeah.
There's no subtlety here at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear what
Here it
you're
comes.
saying.
Nice. Good. You can't cancel it, can you?
Nope.
That's tragic.
I think it's one of the few ultimates where you're like straight up invulnerable when you cast it.
That's funny.
Like you literally can't get CC'd out of it as well.
That's funny. That's funny. You have your cooldowns. Where should you be?
Top left.
Top left, and this is where Hela gets really fun, because with Psylocke this would never be the case, but you could actually just rotate to here as well. Because you talk
Yeah,
about, like, if you
true.
just want to poke, man, you could poke here. Like, this makes it really awkward for Thor, too, because he's like, I probably should clear this angle, but she's so far away. Like, do I even do it? So, like, even from just a sniping perspective, I'm not encouraging you to be, like, some, like, short-range off-angling Hela all the time, but, like, you could just straight up snipe on this angle here. If I'm a Widowmaker and I've got grapple, this is the angle I'm taking.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I feel like on this point here, we just kind of get stuck for a while.
Yeah. There's just a real lack of space being taken by you right now, neither left or right. I also even wonder if you're gonna be, if you're really, really confident in your angle safety, is stun grenade just thrown on Penny like useful at all? Just throw it right there. Is that, or is it just a waste?
It's mostly just a waste. I mean, most of the time, I mean, like I'll stun her, right? It's not gonna really do anything. Like she's just gonna get healed back up. The way that I like to use stun is just like what you were saying earlier for those dumps, right? That quick burst of value.
Yep. Okay.
I just think I could, if I were taking a better angle, I could just dump down somebody like, I don't know, let's say I could dump down the Loki or on the Namor, maybe force his bubble. Just something like that.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Crow as well is not only is it like such a safe disengage cooldown, it's also extremely fast. So you don't go for like these long, oh, I have to rotate all the way back to my team when I get cleared out. It's like so fast, right? So your uptime is very, very good. But this just feels like this is literally just layering. This is like the worst aspect of Rivals, where it's like it's going to be which team uses their ultimates better. But if I have 3 Qs and you have 2 Qs, we're going to win. You're not creating any sort of instability through superior map control, right? You're not introducing any new variables. So unless you just accidentally just headshot somebody, you're never going to win this fight. You see what I'm saying? Like this is like this is Rivals classic, right? Like, you know, like your Black Panther's trying, but you know, we honestly don't even need to watch anymore because like until we get to a different situation. And I think you realize it here. I think you're like, okay, this isn't really working here. The problem is not the idea of the angle. The problem is the execution, which is why you need to be here. Because if you're here, you have better vision of whoever's spamming. You could at least force a cooldown cycle. Was it Thor shooting you? Ooh,
I think it was the Hela in her ult.
Oh, you're right. You're right. She had wall hacks. That's why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is why you have to be really thoughtful about which angle you take too, right? It doesn't have to just be a flank. It can also just be a slightly different off angle to poke. Here, Loki's dead. Yeah. Let's just wait until you guys like actually properly lose. Okay. Same thing. Top left, cooldown dump, ultimate. You know, and don't do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be repetitive though, so I want to wait until we either break the choke or okay, let's see this. Okay, so this is the moment. I think you're getting impatient, you're getting frustrated. Now, it's worth highlighting here that you are down 1. So I'm not confident this is going to work. So let's just pretend that you're not down 1. Let's see the execution here. Stun, doesn't hit. You shift out, and then you go for the ultimate. Honestly, sure. I mean, look at the... Yes. I mean, look what happened. This is 5v6. Look at the space that you created. Like, I know it's boring, but...
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even play your burst cooldown burst well. Like, you just kind of whiffed everything. But look at where you're at, and then if we skip forward 10, just 15 seconds, right? Right as you come out of the ultimate, look at the positioning that you guys have. Look at the HP their front line has. Like, this is crazy. And you're doing your Black Panther a huge favor as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that because I think I see him on an angle there.
Yeah. This is exactly like you did. The execution was horrendous, but the idea was perfect. You took the angle, you applied pressure, you even used your crow into the ultimate so that you had a better angle for your ultimate, and then you just kind of shot whatever you saw. Like, even though it was just like, okay, just gonna tickle the Thor a little bit, right? But it did exactly what you needed it to do. And even in a game like Rivals, if you can take a safe angle, you need to do it, right? And now you have your crow again. I think you should feel comfortable flying top. I think it feels scary to go to an angle with your cooldown, but I think you can always just drop if you get pressured out, right? And there's no real flanker to punish you. I don't feel safe here. Case in point.
I mean, just any sort of spam is just bound to hit me.
Yeah, and worse than that, that too.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. You know, you needed to be there because this is such a winnable fight. Like not only winnable, I think you should win this fight if you're here. We might even win it without you.
I just feel like for a while I just get hard carried by my team.
Yeah.
But no, like this, what you're like pointing out really is helping me understand a lot.
Good. It's really discouraging because the amount of like times that like a hard flank really pays off with like 90% of the cast is like not very high. But I think there's this conception that like we look at flanks as like that means flanks are bad in Marvel Rivals, but that's not what an angle means, right? An angle is like full support of your team, full cover. And always with the asterisks of like I have my defensive cooldown for the risk that I'm taking. You know, I have a get out of jail free card planned, and I'm doing so not even to like pop off and kill 6, but just to create a little bit more space for my team to get out of the choke. So my Black Panther is a little bit of a better angle, or my Groot can get like 2 or 3 people in the ult instead of 1 or 2, right? And I think like if you think about like inches rather than miles, you're gonna pop off. Like you're gonna create those small advantages that you need. And like even now, it's like. Obviously, you came to this fight late, so there's not a whole lot you could have done. But like even here, right? Like this is cheeky. You got to be cautious. But like, hey, maybe it's worth it, right? Maybe you catch somebody there. Maybe you stun to get yourself out. I don't know. Let's look at defense here really fast.
We do actually manage a full capping on our attack.
Nice, that's good. So
I kind of popped off in our final push.
Oh, okay. So we have to watch it now. Let's see.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, let's see. This fight here.
I think it's around her.
Hey, I know. I like what I'm about to see. Yeah, poke him out. Good stun, and then angle. You could do anything here, right? You have your flight. You have your ult. You're synchronizing with your team. Fly to the angle. Nice. Fly deeper on the angle. Ooh. Okay. Nice. That was nice. That was really good. Again, you're using your ult, right? You're using your ult. It feels like you click it on when you have your ult, but I think my challenge for you is can you do that with just Crow, right?
Yeah. That's something I'll keep in mind.
This is fine. I'm trying to see how good is it? I love this angle as Winter Soldier, but maybe this is too close for Hela. Is this isn't destructible, right? I can't remember. I know that's destructible, but I can't. Okay, anyway.
No,
I think
the
okay.
left side isn't.
Yeah, okay, this is fine then. One thing you could do is you could maybe angle here instead. Maybe something to consider. I don't really know. Just kind of respond to where your space, what space your tanks are controlling, and just split just slightly. Like right here, if you're here, this allows you to shoot right behind the Groot wall.
Yeah, I've got better vision now.
You're right, just slightly better. And again, it plays your effective range. I want you to look up and see if you ever see high-level Hela players use stuns on tank trades.
Okay.
Because it feels a shame to have a button that you're never going to press until you get in melee range, essentially. And I want to know if it's worth, just even for the CC or the general annoyance. Because even if it's just annoying, like that's all that you're really playing for here, right? You may not notice the benefits, but yeah. Not really a whole lot to say here. You're holding a slight off angle, you're poking. The other off angles that we'd like you to hold are all like way too deep, you know? Like way too flanky. So this is pretty much, I mean, this is good. Like I want to be very clear. This is good. You're doing a good job. Crosshair placement is excellent. Again, the angle itself is also excellent. Let's keep going here. Do they even get out of the choke here?
Yeah, they do.
This is good too. As long as you get supported here, I like this. Might even like this better if you can get supported. That's annoying. Hela Squirrel Girl is rough and chokes for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much damage.
So much damage. There's no like real range that they can play that's comfortable. I mean, yeah, just press the button. It's okay.
Yeah, I was just.
It's not a waste. It's not a waste, you know. Okay. I mean, here it comes, right? You got ult. You got your flight. Do whatever you want. Nice. Don't chase it. Not your responsibility. Same thing we talked about with Psylocke, right? Not your responsibility. Too far. Do this. Trade better here. Shoot. Kill the Magneto. If she dies, don't let her die in vain, because she's gonna die anyway. So now you're walking into a Psylocke, which is like, okay, fine. Maybe she has no CDs, but also like that's like, what if you get shot in that rotation? What if she grabs the health back and actually has ult? You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's a risk.
It could have gone very, very differently.
It could have been. It could have been. It's just wasted time. If she's gonna die, let her die and get value elsewhere. Nice shots. I really, really, really like your control with your crosshair. Like, I mean, it makes sense given that you're a higher rank player, but it's very deliberate. There's no like. It's really easy to turn your brain off with this character and just kind of spam it at height, but I can definitely tell when people are jumping through the air. You stay calm. You don't need to back up. You don't need to back up. Why? Why are you allowed to hold the angle here?
Because I'm not being contested by anyone.
And bottom right?
Oh yeah, I have my ult.
Yeah, the way that you lose this is if you let the Psylocke not only force a support ult, but also force space. Do not give the space. Hold the angle, trade. When you get pushed, press Q. That's the rule.
Okay.
Because
so what you're saying is because I have ult, right, I can play much more aggressively on those angles.
Yes, exactly. And by giving up this angle now, if you don't kill the Psylocke right now, then you're at a massive disadvantage, because if you press Q where you're at now, or whatever the ult is, your position for the ult is much worse. You see what I'm saying? So
and
now,
yeah, I missed the stun as well. So
right. So now you've literally she's done so much now. She's forced you out. She's forced a support ult, and she's still set up for backline.
Because here's the thing. Like when I was like going for her in this game, I was thinking, oh, okay. I mean, I've done pretty good. I mean, I didn't kill her, but at least I got her really low, and I forced her out. But now that like you've brought up all these other points, like I could have stayed at the angle, just kept shooting the supports. It makes me like look at this now and be like, wow, I really didn't do a whole lot there.
Well, you've done a lot in other fights.
Yeah, but just like in this fight,
in this fight,
Yeah.
yes, you've been basically worthless, because in no world would that Psylocke have engaged in your backline anyway, because she had blown everything. She had nothing left, so she wasn't a threat. She's gonna grab health back and she's gonna wait and she's gonna come back in. At best, you've pushed her engagement time back 5 seconds, but you've also blown all your cooldowns. You've also lost your position, and not only just from a neutral standpoint, but also from an ultimate standpoint. Like, you're in a much worse position to actually trade backline here. So you're just gonna kind of walk here, and then press Q. So at least you got an angle back, but that just feels so awkward. Nice shots. This ult is so silly. I can't.
Midnight is so goofy, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, this game's over. I don't mind you chasing her here because there's literally nothing else to do. So if you're confident, go for it. And you actually hit your stun, so console moment.
Yeah, I mean,
two players actively trying to 180.
Yeah, I mean, she is a bit tricky to track if she has the dashes, and she just annihilates me.
And there it is, right? Like you chase the Psylocke. It wasn't a bad play because, like, in theory, her team is dead, but like it just goes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take some notes here. All right. What do you have to practice with? Actually, I want you to go back to the conclusion of the Psylocke session when I send you the recording, and you take your own notes here. All right? So verbal notes here. Verbal notes for Hela. What do you got?
So, if I have my ultimate, I can just basically stay on an angle and be more aggressive. But also, I can just my uptime is going to be higher too. So instead of like forcing to peel, Instead, all I need to do is just sit on the angle and just like shoot at whoever's coming through, whether that be the supports, the
Right.
tanks, and if I get
Right.
pushed, I can pop my ult and then just stay longer.
Yep, yep, exactly. I think the key thing for you is going to be finding the difference between flanks and angles, right? In terms of like, yes, flanks are not always super rewarded, but like if I could take just like a slightly different sight line for more pressure and then abuse the fact that I have like get out of jail free cards. Like if you're not getting your a get out of jail free card forced, then you're not doing enough damage. You're not taking an aggressive enough position. That's the way I like to look at it, not just with Hela, but just with this game in general.
Okay.
That's the way to look at it. The other homework I have for you is I want you to watch some high level Hela, like I mean obviously you're high level Hela, but like highest level Hela, and just see
Yeah, like Eternity and so on.
what are they doing with their stun, and what are they doing with their alt fire? Because those things were not really relevant to your gameplay. Part of it was because of the space that you were taking, yes, but also like that first defense, right? There wasn't really a flank or a close range angle. You just kind of poked tank, which was good. But then is it ever worth it to throw alt fire in there? Is it ever worth it to throw stun? I don't know. You don't know. You need to find out.
Yeah. So with all of that like being said, with everything I need to work on, do you think if I like hone all those like errors I was making in both in like both games that we've kind of pointed out, do
Yeah.
you think it would be realistic for me to say, okay, if I can hone in on these goals that I have, would that be realistic to say I can hit Eternity?
Of
Because that's
course.
kind of like my
Yeah.
next goal.
Yeah,
Since
of course.
my goal at the beginning of the season was, okay, I want to try and hit Diamond. I hit Diamond. I'm like, okay, well, I want to try and hit GM. Then I got to Celestial. So like, I want to try and get to Eternity. So yeah, I guess what my question is with everything we've looked at today, as I practice these things, would there need to be anything else I have to do to hit Eternity?
No. Like you have to
Okay,
understand, like if
well,
you're able to even apply what we talked about here, even 35-40% of the time more, like not nailing it every time, but doing better, like significantly better over the course of the next couple of months, that is a massive upgrade in your uptime and your value and your like fight win percentage.
okay.
And
So
yeah.
keeping that in mind, what I would have to do next is just again work on figuring out how to use my stun, right? Like you were saying earlier. I think
Yep.
once I've worked on the mistakes that I was making in those games, just figure out like the micro, like you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of things to work on here, but I think the nice thing for you is that both the Hela and Psylocke had similar principles to improve on, and that's going to carry over whenever you'd like to. Be patient with yourself, set goals. I definitely would write these things down. Like I'd go back and listen to it and write them down, and then just try to practice them as applicable. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions?
Um. I not not really, but I guess something that I do have. I don't really know how to word this. It's just kind of been a thought I had in my mind. Is it like is it like good to like double up on an angle? Like let's say I'm with my friend, right, who's on Magic and I'm on Psy. Would it be good for like two of us to go on an angle and then like stage a dive on a target?
Yeah,
Or would that
it's fine.
not be good because like we're
It's fine.
both it's kind of like a 4v6, you know?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I would say it's fine. I would say it's fine. When you're choosing an angle, you just need to make sure that your entire team's not there. And then secondly, does this angle feel comfortable with my kit? Like Hela is going to play more mid-range. Psylocke's going to play more short to mid-range, depending on the size of her cooldowns. Hela goes mid to
Right.
long when she doesn't have
So
cooldowns. So I would say if you have two DPS in the same angle, it's not a problem. Not a
okay,
problem.
but as long as if it complements my own character, like the
Correct.
angle.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. As long as it's not six people on the angle, then you're fine. Then it's not an angle anymore. But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that would just be like main.
Yep. Totally fine.
Yeah, no, I think